Hi, Dick Rude. Thank you so much for your time today. We're here to talk about your film Quit. Um, Phenomenal, actually. I'm a big fan of kind of classic films and the way they're shot, and I got this very old school vibe in the way that you put that together. Uh, I'll talk a little bit more of that in a little bit further into it, but can you tell us a little bit about the film?
Emmanuel, thank you for having me on your program, and it's a pleasure to be here. Quit in a sense is kind of old school. We had some old pros working on it, so I'm glad that you perceived it that way. It's a story about a couple that go away to the desert together to quit smoking, which becomes a metaphor for their relationship. And really what I was trying to point out here is that we as humans, as imperfect as we are, do a lot of things that feel good and suffer a lot of painful consequences as a result. And sometimes that's the payoff and it's worth it. And other times we reach a point where we want to change that. But what becomes important is that at some point there is an awareness that you are owned, whether that's by working out or being a workaholic or smoking or being in a passionate relationship or whatever it is. So really wanted to explore those dynamics of excesses in being a human.
I really like that because you go from they start from the initial, they're quitting, they flushed them down the toilet, they're on this journey together, and it takes less than 24 hours for everything just to go haywire. And I mean there's like this excess of different methods that he's bringing in, and she just wants to just cleanse on her own in like a spiritual way. So you also see that different personalities are gonna attempt this in different ways. Can you talk a little bit about the development on how you developed Julius and Danielle, as far as what was going to be their dynamic, as far as competing ways of dealing with their um, quitting?
Yeah, well, he's very much a man and she's very much a woman. And what I mean by that is he brings a very cerebral, tactical approach to a relationship. Again, that relationship may be with her or with smoking. And she tends to act more from her heart and she's more passionate. And so those are their approaches. His approach is, well, let's have the tools, let's map this out, and we'll do it by the book, and then we'll have to succeed. Well, of course, that's not always the case. And on her side of it, it's like, no, I'm not a smoker. Because I woke up today and I said that I'm a different person, then I'm a different person. And that kind of passion is wonderful, but that's not always a solution to life either. So really, I find that it's nice that they are so dichotomous in that way and in their approaches. And it's also what attracts them to each other and what separates them from each other. And so this, again, draws up the sneakiness of any kind of drug. And when I say drug, I mean any kind of endorphin, that anything that brings pleasure. And the opposite of that, the pain and the balance in between.
Yeah, so I found that interesting because I found that into to doing a little self searching. I gave up soda, but now I'm drinking more coffee. So I gave up one thing for another. I'm not doing one thing, but now I'm replacing it with another. So I was like, man, am I ever just not gonna be a quote unquote slave to something, to some sort of I guess you can just call it an addiction. And it was interesting to see them bounce from one thing to another, and then somehow it all leads right back full circle to, do you want to smoke?
Yeah. Yeah, of course you do. And there's also that thing of like, I don't even know that I'm doing it. You can have an awareness in 1 minute and in the next minute, no awareness whatsoever that you're even doing it. I really relate to the quote at the beginning of the film. Beyond the fact that it's humorous, it's so true. Mark Twain said, "Quitting smoking is easy. I've done it 1,000 times."
Yes, it's one of his famous quotes. Uh, Definitely true. I want to ask you about some of the metaphors that I see in the film, which I thought were very cleverly placed. Two of my favorites were in the beginning, when he succumbs and he has that cigarette in the morning, and he almost catches the place on the area on fire, the tarantula and everything. It kind of set up what I was like, oh. So they're this is gonna be bad. This is gonna be quite the adventure that we're gonna see them on. And then my second favorite one was I think near the middle 3/4 of the film when hey, do you want to smoke? She's like, no, I quit. And she goes, too bad, and goes on this like Charlie Brown kind of uh, dance, kind of giving the illusion of, look how happy I am because I'm doing what I want and I'm smoking, and you just kind of have to take it.
Yeah, yeah, it's surreal the way your mind plays tricks on you when you take something away from it that it's so dependent upon. So again, kind of like the heartache that we go through when we're in a breakup in a relationship. Again, whether that's a love relationship with a human or a drug or whatever, you listen to what you want to hear at any given moment, and it can be really surreal. And what I loved about the film taking place in the desert is that it's a very dangerous place. The landscape of the desert and the landscape of love are very similar in that way. Where anything can happen at any moment. You just don't know. One day it could be 1 minute, it can be sunshine and beauty, and the next it can be a flood that's carrying you away. And so it's very much sums up and analogous to the predictability of the unpredictability when someone tries to quit something.
Yeah, and also the just to add on to that, I just how alone you really are, and you don't
Yeah.
have the rest of society to help you, and even though they're together, they're so apart,
Yes.
and you can see that they do such a way. I thought that Noah and Diora did such a good job at
Yes.
at at um at being a couple, but not being a couple. You can tell that
Yes.
they're on their way out. Can you talk a little bit about working with them?
Well, they were both extraordinary. I felt that Noah Segan really understood the sort of the mental anguish that goes along with trying to give something up and being able to portray that anxiety. He was so clear about how he was going to approach that and what that meant to him. And Diora really, again, going back to what I was saying before, had a true sense of what the passion feels like in doing something or not doing something or giving it up. And so they both were able to relate to the characters so completely that it seemed pretty obvious that they were the right people for the job.
Yeah, they did great. So now to one of my original points that I wanted to make. What I got the feeling when watching this film is one of my favorite classic films, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The way it was shot, the colors, the changing in point of views, and the experience that they're going through. And it was funny because I found it interesting that on one side, it that classic movie is them on all kinds of drugs and that experience. And here it's them trying to clear themselves of cigarettes and almost having a similar experience. And I
Yeah.
found it really interesting.
Yeah, it's really true. Life is that way. You don't need to be under the influence of something to be able to have visions. Sometimes it's really just about perspective and believability, and your brain and your heart can take you to strange places. I mean, honestly, in Fear and Loathing, the idea is that the more that you put into your body, the more drugs and excess you do, the closer you'll get to God, right?
Mhm.
And in Quit, it's similar, but it's the opposite. the more I take away, the more I strip away, the rawer and more naked I am, the closer I will get to God, you know. And whether you believe in God or not is a whole other story. But I mean that in the real, you know, supernatural sense, I think, you know, where it's just um, you can be tripping without being on acid for sure. And the desert is the best place to do it.
Yeah, I thought it was a very smart setting. Can you talk a little bit about shooting and the way you guys shot the film, what kind of camera you used, and some of those choices to work with the film?
Yeah, it was very much a guerrilla style film. I mean, the crew was extremely small, and I mean, I owe everything to the people that I worked with and collaborated with. And they were the ones that were able to bring this across. Of course, at the front of that would be Tom Richmond, the cinematographer, who is probably most famous for Little Odessa and another film called Right at Your Door. He also shot a film that I co-wrote and starred in called Straight to Hell. And one of my favorites was back in the 80s, he shot a film called Hard Bodies, which is pretty funny and, you know, not that well known, but very 80s movie. So, and, you know, we set out to we set out to try and create a vibe that was very much I wanted to capitalize on a Cassavetes type of style, yeah, like where it was a lot of handheld and you just felt like you were in the room with the characters. And so we tried to do a lot of that and keep it intimate that way, because this was such an intimate story. When I had written it and was auditioning actors and actresses, I was getting a lot of comments about afterwards that people felt that I had been in the room during their relationship and heard what they were saying, that it was the dialogue was that accurate and they related that strongly to what was going on. And so I realized that I had captured some core dynamic that was going on between people in general, usually. And so that was exciting. And I had to try and think of a way to portray that visually, not just in the words of the script. And so Tom helped do that. And we had Cecilia Montiel did the production design, who's like really well known, like high caliber designer, and you know, decided to work on my little film with me, which was pretty amazing. And a lot of people like that, you know, that they just came along and wanted to do something that they felt was fun and cool. And so from the casting of Mary Vernew to all of those other people, I just think it was a collaboration that really turned out to represent the emotion of the film really well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was shot very, very well, and then also must say it was edited very, very well because the pacing of it I thought was great, especially given the fact that it's such an intimate film with so many moments that require patience and they require time to develop. The fact that it didn't ever necessarily feel like it came to a standstill, I really appreciate it too because it had a good flow to it.
Yeah, thank you.
So I want to ask you one last question. What do you hope audiences take away from Quit?
Well, I've never been one to try and tell anyone anything. So I don't know. I just want anyone that sees it to have a full experience, to maybe recognize, like I've been saying, just have an awareness of what's going on in their own lives, to be able to pause in the moment and live in the moment, and at least have a recognition of, you know, who they are, what they're experiencing, you know, maybe just bring a little self-examination into the picture. I've never tried to say do something or don't do something, or this is good or this is bad. It's not my place to tell people what to do. I'm not necessarily advocating that people quit the things that they love, or promoting that. And I think that, wagging the finger at someone makes them want to go do it in the first place.
Mhm.
So whatever anyone takes away from it is really not my part. My part is to make it and then make sure that someone has an experience. So I mean, I really hope that people go and watch it and really either really love it or really hate it, but that they feel something at the end of it.
Well, I loved it.
Oh, good.
And I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you because it's a rare privilege for most people to be able to watch a film, have questions, and then be able to turn around and talk to the filmmaker.
Well, Emmanuel, thanks for having me on your show, and I hope all of your viewers and listeners will go and check out Quit and have a good time.
Absolutely. Thanks for the plug. Dick,
Yeah,
have a great day, and we hope to see you again.
thanks.
Thanks.